Hiyo! It's Volix again, and I'm here with another Remnant 2 build video. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much to everyone who watched my first video. It was so awesome to see all those views and comments. I'll try to keep the quality tip-top for everybody, and I really hope you enjoy this one because I absolutely had a blast making it. So, what you're seeing in the background is the result of my mission to play through Apocalypse with a melee build. I just wanted to turn this game into Nier Automata, hack and slashing my way through everything. And I think I made it to the place where I wanted to be, spamming melee attacks like I'm an anime character at the end of the season where I discover all my powers. And let me tell you, after playing through so many times with range builds, it felt absolutely great to totally switch up everything, make a completely different game out of Remnant 2. This is what I love about this game. There is so much versatility. I thought there was versatility between all the range builds, but honestly, playing melee has me feeling like this is a whole different title. Alright, so the whole reason why I was able to figure this out was because of this item right here, the Matriarch's Insignia. Listen, I didn't know what this item was, I didn't know how to get it. I found it during this playthrough, it changed everything. As you can see, it's a fat melee damage buff, but it also generates stamina for every melee attack you land. With this amulet, I was finally able to spam my Spectral Blade like Millennia's Waterfowl Dance, and it just feels great. So, let's get into how this build works. I'm not gonna lie, there isn't much to say here in terms of synergies. This isn't like a fancy scientist build. It's really just all about buffing damage as much as humanly possible while keeping just the defense you need to survive in Apocalypse. I used my Archetypes for defense, Challenger's primary, Medic secondary. Along with the Shield Relic, I was able to get away with just using Wellspring for HP recovery, which is great. The Challenger is a no-brainer, of course, for melee. Juggernaut is just such a great skill to pop when you need to shred. It's 25 seconds long. 60-second cooldown, a really good ratio on that. And also the Prime perk is absolutely clutch for closing some hard deals later on. All right, so let's get into the good stuff, which of course is the jewelry. The jewels are all damage oriented. We've got the Necklace of the Matriarch, Burden of the Gambler, which I was so happy to finally use effectively. Burden of the Destroyer, which I love, Probability Cord, and the Fey Warrior Ring. As far as Relic Shards, again, we are all offensive. I just love looking at all that damage. Tell me it's not sexy. Melee attack speed, melee crit chance, melee crit damage. And I just wanted to give a quick shout out to my boy Stagger Damage over here, who had a bunch of people stun locked forever. Okay, so what else do we have to talk about here? I guess we can talk about the armor and the stats here for a bit. Fey hat, Lido chest and legs, Labyrinth gloves for obvious reasons because you don't want to die. And honestly, like the heavy stuff, stamina isn't a concern for us anymore because we are generating it with our melee attacks. As you can see, there are some pretty juicy stats for the melee damage and the critical damage, etc. That plus 100 on crit basically means that we have to be hitting crit as often as possible. Now, there are some amazing amulets for critical chance out there, but we're locked into Matriarch. So we're using the Overdrive Mutator for our katana. Honestly, it produces such high damage increases on a regular basis because Whirlwind just slaps a million hits out there. Sometimes when I need to refresh crits, I just Whirlwind in a room with a bunch of jars and you can get 5 stacks on the Overdrive in one shot. Also, let's just talk about how high the base damage on Whirlwind has got. We're at over 500 for base damage on it, which is just really high. So it's feeling pretty good, hitting crits like 1000 plus all around you when you're spamming this attack. It's awesome. All right, so let's get along with this so that we can look some more combat. Traits again are pretty standard for the Apocalypse Rodeo, mostly defensive and also a few for the dodges, which come in handy. I'm not the best at dodging, and also this build is more just about shredding, so I needed all the help I could get. Strong back. Oh my god, my daughter is just making all the cute sounds. Anyway, strong back and triage come with our archetypes. Fortify is pretty much mandatory along with vigor. Expertise because we love our skills. Barkskin for damage reduction. Untouchable and fitness for our dodges. Arcane strike really helps with producing mod power in this build. And endurance I didn't really spec into ever since the Matriarch's necklace was generating stamina for us. Okay, enough chit chat about the build. Now I just want to talk a little bit about the gameplay loop, which is basically just bum rushing everyone I can and spamming melee attacks until they hit the deck. But it wasn't all just ice cream on the way there. It took a lot of dying to make this melee build work. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, stamina depletion is a really big problem for melee in Remnant 2. For me, there was no combination of traits and armor that made melee attacks actually viable in Apocalypse. Which is kind of a shame because that means you have to rely on like really rare jewelry to make it work. And there aren't very many items in this game that make this a non-issue. Matriarch's Insignia is definitely one of them, but having to rely on super rare items or relics to play melee-centered is a shame because it's so damn fun. Like this Bone Weaver here, I had no doubt in my mind that I would just shred the dude, so I drove right up to the guy and started swinging. With the attack speed up so high on the katana with that relic shard and everything, it's just so satisfying to put up all that damage really quickly. Now, there are much more powerful options, of course, and sometimes breaking those out is a good idea too because of the stagger damage, and yeah, it works. For the Huntress, I used the Royal Broadsword, and it literally just had her stuck in place the entire time. She couldn't even get a single hit off. You can see her kind of hiccup when her stagger limit has been breached, and then she just continues to hang out there, taking hits, waiting for an opportunity to get her shish together. I absolutely love this fight. It's the definition of melee dominance in a Souls-like, and I'm really glad I got a chance to experience it firsthand in this game. Alright, now I just want to get back to the fight with this dude Faerin. You didn't honestly think that I was going to leave you hanging, just teasing the first part of the fight in the beginning of the video, right? This guy, such a punk, and it was all because of his third phase. I'm sure everyone has had the opportunity to bang their head against the table during Faerin's third form, and this, with a melee build, was absolutely no exception. Not being able to have the ranged strength that I usually do made this so difficult, and I thought it worth mentioning how tough close range play can be in this game sometimes. I highly recommend having a few tricks up your sleeve for these situations. In this fight, I didn't have to totally respec, but I did have to take out my long gun and dump some rounds into this dude because it was just too hard to track him all around and be in the perfect place just for like 3 melee strikes while all those dumb swords are falling all over. I tell you, looking up and seeing his health so low and not being able to close the deal was just ridiculous, man. This is such a cheap boss phase for melee players. So, my advice for these situations does not have anything to do with the build or the playstyle or learning the moveset or anything. The thing that finally did it for me was taking long, deep breaths between rounds so that I could lower my pulse and just calm down a bit. I know it sounds ridiculous and silly, but man, my heart was going so fast at times, I thought I was gonna have a panic attack. It was tough, but man, oh man, did it feel so good cutting this a-hole down with a katana at the end of the day. Alright, I think that just about does it for this one. For those of you that made it to the end, thanks so much for watching. If this video was at all fun or helpful, like and subscribe. Questions or thoughts, please leave a comment. I love hearing what everyone has to say about the games we love to play. Okay, that's it for me. Keep farming, everybody.